There are waves so powerful that they wipe out cities in minutes. These monster waves, on rare occasions, have shaken the earth, rising higher than skyscrapers before swallowing everything in their path. Some witnessed them through a lens, others never lived to tell the tale. What happens when the sea becomes the world's greatest threat? Join us on this special episode as we reveal 5 of the most terrifying waves ever caught on camera. 2011 started as a promising and normal year for the people of Japan, but 70 days into the new year, disaster struck. In the afternoon of March 11th, a violent magnitude 9.1 earthquake occurred underwater, and within minutes, tsunami waves of over 133 feet began forming, eventually surging towards coastal towns at 800 kilometers per hour. With no time to escape, residents had only one option: run to higher ground. Residents watched in horror from the tops of hills and tall buildings as the tsunami tore through towns, destroying everything in sight. Videos from tsunami showed the waves knocking buildings into rubble and sweeping away vehicles, building parts, and debris. A video from Kamashi City showed the waves rushing over the then world's deepest and largest 18-foot seawall. Even towns far from the coast were not spared, as the monstrous waves reached as far as 3 miles inland. A video that made rounds online showed a Japan Coast Guard ship's crew battling the tsunami wave despite being in shallow water. The fate of ships caught in the open ocean can only be imagined. The Tohoku earthquake became the largest to have ever been recorded in Japan and the 5th in the world. Tragically, the disaster claimed 19,759 lives. Left 2,553 missing and severely injured 6,242 more. As if the devastation weren't enough, the tsunami triggered a nuclear meltdown, making the catastrophe even worse. Over 400,000 buildings were reduced to rubble, entire towns vanished, and Japan faced an unprecedented $235 billion in losses. On July 9, 1958, Alaska experienced its strongest earthquake in 60 years. The quake lasted only a minute, but was powerful enough to be felt as far as Seattle. The earthquake sent around 82 million tons of rock, which would have weighed as much as 240 Empire State Buildings, into the waters of Lituya Bay, creating the world's tallest mega tsunami, measuring a terrifying height of 1,720 feet. For sailors caught in their path, these waves meant certain death. According to eyewitnesses, Howard Ulrich and his 8-year-old son, Sonny, were fishing on their boat, the Idri, and barely survived the horror of the waves. A rumble knocked them off their feet that evening, making the boat shake violently. As they managed to get on their feet, the father and son saw the one-of-a-kind monster approaching them. Despite being anchored, Howard managed to turn on the engine and face the wave. When it hit, even though it had dropped to 75 feet and slowed to 120 kilometers per hour, it still snapped their anchor and flung the boat. Miraculously, they survived. Orville and Mickey Wagner were not so fortunate aboard their boat Sumor on the opposite side of the bay. The moment they saw the wave, they thought they could outrun it and decided that their best chance for survival was to leave the bay. But as they headed for the entrance, the wave hit them from the side and flipped the boat, and the couple did not survive. In 1957, the Italian government began its mega project, the Vajont hydroelectric dam, and its large reservoir, which had a capacity of 44 billion gallons of water. When the reservoir was filled in early 1960, people began noticing gigantic cracks on Mount Tauk, just over the dam. After a landslide struck, the government finally launched an investigation that revealed a terrifying truth. The mountain was waterlogged, and a 720 million ton rock mass was on the verge of collapse. Despite the growing unease of the locals, the government kept its findings a secret, leaving nearby towns completely unprepared for the disaster to come. As a precaution, the government lowered the reservoir's water level by 70 feet, believing this would prevent overflow. On October 9, 1963, Mount Tauk finally unleashed its fury. A 1.5 mile wide rock slab broke loose, plunging into the Vajont Reservoir at a staggering 96.56 kilometers per hour, 3 times faster than scientists had predicted. The Great Fall sent 2 massive waves in opposite directions, one toward the dam and the other toward the village of Erto. Traveling at 48.28 kilometers per hour, the first wave destroyed farms and houses along the shore, leaving no survivors. However, Erto was lucky to have been between the mountains and was spared from the wrath of the waves. More than 275 million tons of water thundered over the dam, hurtling toward Longarone and its 5,000 residents, trapping them in its unstoppable path. Only 22 of Longarone's 372 buildings remained standing. Longarone was wiped off the map, its ruins reduced to mud and rubble, along with thousands of lives, swept away by the Piave River as if it had never existed. On the night of December 22nd, 2018, villagers and tourists along the coast were having fun around bonfires. Everything looked normal, but unknown to them, Anak Krakatau, a fiery volcano, was restless for hours. By midnight, the volcano had erupted 423 times, each more violent than the other. Later in the evening, the volcano erupted so violently that it caused the southwestern side of the mountain to collapse, sending a 64-hectare chunk of rock crashing into the ocean. The moment the rock collapsed, it created a massive 144-foot tsunami, which slammed into the western coast of Banten within minutes. Neither the locals nor the scientists knew what was happening as the waves raced toward shore, unseen and unheard. In an attempt not to raise panic in either part of the country, authorities first dismissed the tsunami as a normal high tide. But this was far from normal. Videos that made rounds on the internet showed homes swallowed and people dragged away as the water near Curated Beach rose over 6 feet. In Tanjung Lesung, it was worse. The waves were over 16 feet, and they smashed into crowds. Another video showed the popular Indonesian band 17 performing at a beachfront venue in Pandeglang. Then, in an instant, the entire stage, including the musicians, crew members, and fans, disappears as a monstrous wave came crashing. Tragically, they were found lifeless days later. Entire beach resorts, hotels, and homes were wiped out, and by midnight, authorities revealed that 168 people had lost their lives, and 745 were injured in the first 24 hours. The numbers kept climbing. By the end of December, 426 lives were lost, 7,202 people were wounded, and 24 were still missing. Bodies were found floating in the sea, trapped inside destroyed villas and buried under debris. Survivors recalled the smell of death growing stronger by the day. The night of February 27, 2010, in Chile was peaceful. Then all of a sudden, the earth came alive off the coast of central Chile. A massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake struck near the Mall region and unleashed terror for nearly 4 minutes. Within this short time, 70 miles away, the city of Concepcion, Chile's second largest metropolis, was about to be transformed beyond recognition. Unfortunately, the destruction didn't end with the earthquake. Minutes later, Talcahuano became the first to suffer the wrath of the 19-foot-high tsunami that emerged. Its waves submerged over half of the coastal zone, leaving the port in ruins. After destroying Talcahuano, the tsunami journeyed across the ocean towards Hawaii, then to Chile. Its waves reached as far as California and Japan, causing millions of dollars in damage. By the time the storm calmed, 525 people perished, 25 remained missing, and thousands lost their homes. The earthquake and tsunami inflicted an estimated $30 billion in damages in less than a day.